And I wound up getting the fucking dog shit worked out of me, while a lot of other fucking shitbags, they purposely failed everything they were given, were late, they were just fucking pieces of shit. And it just became easier over time to make me, and there was 2 other soldiers in my platoon that wound up covering 85% of all the fucking duties. And that did cause a huge amount of animosity. I was going to say asimosity, but I guess it's both. Hello everybody, Terrence Popp here with another episode of Live from the Lair. Today I'm going to be addressing a question that I had received. I received this actually a few times, but it's a question on being a good sergeant. I can't tell you how many times in the Army I've heard the saying, you know, the NCOs are the backbone of the Army. You know, that is absolutely true. Now, some of you guys out there, I'm just gonna let you know up front that the sergeant that you have at the beginning of your career is gonna probably impact it for the rest of your time in the military. So it's important that you have a good sergeant to follow, all right, or at least one that you can emulate off of, because that's where you learn a lot of bad habits, laziness, you know, a lot of other stupid bullshit that, you know, that just makes you a fucking toxic fucking leader. I'm just going to say it. Okay, this also applies to, you know, first and second lieutenants when they show up on the ground. There's a lot of lieutenants out there that when they're a second lieutenant, they won't lead shit. But in order to get to captain, they have to have time in command. So, you know, there might be a platoon out there or a section that gets a first lieutenant. You know, my advice to you is pay attention to your sergeant first class. If he's any good at all, he will basically, you know, mold you to be the good officer that you could become. Now, that sounds kind of cheesy, but it's absolutely true. All right. There's a couple rules of thumb here that a good sergeant will have. The first one will be that his men come first. He's not going to make decisions that strictly, you know, favor him. All right. He'll make decisions which favor his entire section, be it a team, squad, platoon, whatever. He puts his men first. Okay. Now, if you ever want to be a successful leader and go up the chain, and your top ceiling is almost limitless, is you have to make the men that work underneath you not just respect you, don't fear you, but they have to love you. If they love you, they will fucking do whatever it fucking takes to get the job done to make you look good. There's really, you can't like make them do it. You can only do it from, you know, leading from the front and by example. All right. Now, I cover a lot of this in my book, you know, The Warrior's Way and the Soldier's Soul, in more detail. And I'm going to probably, in the next year, try to record that so I can have it, you know, an audio book in regards to that. So if you guys, you know, interested in that, just let me know, comments below.
Zuck the cuck drinks water like a duck, but he also drinks your data. So tell him and Google to shove your data up their schwing-schwangs by downloading the Brave browser. It's free, blocks online advertising, and protects your privacy and data from evil tech companies. You only see ads if you want to see them, and you get cryptocurrency for your attention. Don't let Zuck use you to make a buck. Download Brave by clicking on the link down below.
All right, let's see. All right, we talked about lead from the front and by example, but one of the two will get you by. If you can do just one of those two things, you can be okay. All right, you won't be great, but you can be okay. If you do none of those two things, your men will hate your guts. You are a piece of shit, and chances are you're going to cap out at like major or lieutenant colonel, and that's it. All right, you'll be average to below average. You don't want to do this. Now, another good thing, and I did this all the time, is not only that I train my subordinates to do their jobs and how I wanted their jobs to be done, because every sergeant's different. They like things the way they like them. That's just the way it is. But you can always tell the good sergeant because he trains his subordinates to do his job and replace him. Because, you know, you're not going to be in the military forever. Hell, you might not even live to see the end. And, you know, your subordinates, you know, if they see you preparing them to fill your boots, that does give them a lot of confidence in their abilities and you. Okay, here's a good one here. Now, you'll get a lot of sergeants who are book smart. You'll get some sergeants who are, you know, stupid. All right, I've never seen stupid sergeants actually be great NCOs. I've seen them do okay to somewhat good, but if you are an idiot, chances are you're not going to make it into, you know, the top tier guys. All right, that's just the way it is. And you need to be able to convey wisdom to your subordinates, either by a story, example, or using comedy. I use all three because a lot of guys, when you walk up and say, hey, don't do this, you know, because this is what's going to happen, there's a certain percentage of people out there that will not work for them at all. But if you say, this is going to work, how do I know this? This is why. And you tell them a little story about how somebody fucking fucked their life up doing some stupid bullshit. That actually goes a long way. Or you could say it in a way that makes them laugh. Because believe it or not, when you're talking to people and they're laughing, they are actually learning at a very deep level. All right, they don't know it at the time, but they are. All right, here's another big one. And you don't see it this often, but they won't let you do anything that they're not willing to do themselves or they have never done. In my entire 33 years, I think I've had 4 or 5 sergeants above me that actually followed this particular guideline. I myself did it, you know, with my men. You know, like for instance, if I was sending somebody out the gate to their possible death, you know, I always made it a point to look them in the eye. From time to time, I went out fucking with them and did their job alongside them. And I got wounded for it, but that's just the way it is. It's a dangerous fucking thing. The Army is about violence. You know, you do violence to others and violence will be done to you. That's just the way, the nature of the beast. There's another one that you'll see a lot of sergeants do, and they'll do it subconsciously. And you have to really avoid this because it causes a lot of animosity within the ranks. And that's play favorites. All right, so if you have a guy and he's a severe brown noser, and you realize that, you know, the shitty details are coming down and never going to him, and it's causing some turmoil within the ranks, you're gonna have to, you know, consciously make an effort to make sure that all of the shitty duties are distributed evenly across all the men. And that's easily done with the DA6. It's covered by the regulations. You put your men in there, it's a grid, and then you just go along, you know. So if they ever called you the carpet on it, you can pull out your DA6 and go, I'm just following that, and you're totally fine. You know, that works for anything like guard duty, you know, shit burning, you know, driver, what have you. Now, I didn't see a lot of this when I was in the 9th ID because I was proficient, had a good head on my shoulders, and I wound up getting the fucking dog shit worked out of me, while a lot of other fucking shit bags, they purposely failed everything they were given, were late, they were just fucking pieces of shit, and it just became easier over time to make me, and there was 2 other soldiers in my platoon that wound up covering 85% of all the fucking duties. And that did cause a huge amount of animosity. I was going to say asimosity, but I guess it's both. All right, here's another big one, and I've only seen this done maybe 3 times. And that's where you'd run top cover for your men. And this is weird. It just happens that some of the people above you, the higher ranking individuals, lose touch with how shit works. or they spent so little time in command that, you know, they just don't realize what they're doing. But they actually put a lot of undue stress and animosity and pressure on the people to follow the fucking stupid ass bullshit that takes place at the higher ranks. And if you're a good sergeant, you'll be able to basically stand between your men and the idiots and filter out the stupid, which, you know, that's a skill that could take 10 or 15 years how to hone it down, but it's definitely very important. I can't tell you how many times I sat in on intel briefings or command briefings from battalion, and in the back of my head, you know, I had my notepad down, and I'd like act like I was writing shit down that I was going to tell a man, but in reality, I'd be like, nope, not telling them that. Yeah, I can word this differently. Nope, that's completely stupid. We'll not be doing that. And probably a good 30% of the shit that came down for hire, you know, I watered it down, or I just didn't even fucking execute it because I knew that it was going to cause all kinds of ass pain with the troops. And it's not worth it. It just straight up isn't. Now here's another big one. Now, of all the NCOs I've ever had, there was 2 that did this on the regular. And that was, they never fucking lied to their men. All right? Don't fucking do it. All right? Now, I'm not talking about, you know, not telling them something that they don't need to fucking know. Okay, that's not, in my book, that's not lying. That's being a smart fucking NCO who knows how to play the system and keep the guys in the upper echelons from, you know, crushing the nuts of the people on the ground that have to actually implement the fucking policies. All right, I mean, I'm talking looking a guy in the face and just straight up fucking lying to him. All right, that is the fastest way to get ostracized, to lose faith from your men, and have them turn against you. All right, you don't want to fucking do that at all. I mean, luckily, I was never good at lying. I didn't even try to fucking lie to anybody. I just told them the deal. And another thing that you need to do, always have a method to your madness. All right, don't ever do shit without an end result in mind. Okay, because that never fucking works out for anyone. I mean, there was a lot of times where I would tell people to do stuff and I would get that fucking crossway look like, what the fuck you talking about? And sometimes there wasn't time to explain it until after the fact. But on every single occasion where that happened after the fact and I explained it to the dudes, they're like, yeah, that had to fucking happen. I understand. All right. You got to have that in mind. So anyway, I mean, you know, it's sad to say here, but a lot of the NCOs that I ran into in the last 8 years of my career, there was a lot more average to below average NCOs that I had come into when I first came in the military. There were a few shining examples, but there was also a lot of fucking incompetent pieces of shit. And, you know, I'm sorry to say this, but in the near future, you're going to see the active army fucking implode. With all of the fucking turning it into a social experiment. They destroyed the 20-year retirement system. You know, they have a 401k system, but soldiers are not making that much fucking money to even take advantage of the 401k system. And, you know, if we ever see another big fucking conflict, there's going to be a draft. That's really the only way it's going to, you know, self-correct. And when that happens, there is going to be a huge shortage of good NCOs because there are damn few left in the United States Army. All right, gentlemen, I know this one wasn't the most exciting fucking lectures or speakings or whatever you want to call it, but I try to answer the questions I get. You know, if I don't do them right away, I do try to get to them in time. That could take quite a bit of time, but I definitely will make an effort. All right, gentlemen, that's it for me today. You take it easy.